Have you ever heard the whispers of shadow figures who vanish into smoke on silent nights, run across the surface of water, and even split into three bodies at once? This isn't fiction. It's a fragment of Japan's darkest legends made real. These were the ninja, masters of the void, beings who existed in the boundary between history and myth. For over 400 years, feudal lords paid fortunes in gold to secure their services, while common folk whispered prayers of protection whenever darkness fell across the land. Today, we're unveiling 7 mystical ninja abilities, from invisibility and body splitting to the ultimate vanishing art known as Tonsō-jutsu, techniques that terrorized enemies without ever revealing a face. Each technique alone could turn the tide of battle, but masters who combined them became something beyond human comprehension. Watch until the very end, because by then, you'll discover the secret of how a ninja, surrounded by 100 men, could disappear without a single soul ever finding him. You'll learn why even the most battle-hardened warriors would abandon their posts rather than face these phantoms of the night. Then let's begin this journey into the darkest corners of human warfare. They say a ninja could vanish in a single heartbeat. Smoke rises, the wind whispers, and they dissolve into the night like a ghost made of shadows. But what witnesses rarely understood was the decades of brutal training required to master this art, learning to control every breath, every muscle twitch, every flicker of the eye that might betray their presence. No one knows where they went. Some swear a ninja stood right before them, only to fade away like a phantom born of smoke and moonlight. Ancient scrolls describe how ninjas studied the behavior of nocturnal predators, owls, wolves, and mountain cats, learning to move with that same preternatural stillness that makes prey freeze in instinctive terror. They understood something modern science would only discover centuries later. The human eye is drawn to movement, and the human mind fills gaps with expectation. This is called Engiri no Jutsu, the art of severing sight itself. Ninjas wielded no magic, only darkness, timing, and silent breathing to erase themselves from reality. They used metsubushi, blinding powders made of ash, crushed glass, and iron filings, thrown into enemies' eyes to create crucial seconds of confusion. In that split second of blindness and panic, a ninja could move faster than human reaction time, becoming one with the shadows that surrounded every flame. And so, people began calling them Yoru Nobori, the restless spirits of the night. If you hear the wind in the forests of Iga, it may not be wind at all, but the sound of their breath. Village elders would warn children never to wander alone after sunset, for the shadows themselves had eyes, and those eyes belonged to watchers who served lords you would never see. But this is only the first glimpse into ninja sorcery. If you think they could only hide, what comes next will freeze your blood. Because sometimes, the shadow didn't just vanish, it multiplied. Legend whispers that ninjas could appear in 2 places at once, one flesh, one illusion, and either could be the one to end your life. In the chaos of battle, when fear already twists the mind, one extra shadow is all it takes to shatter a warrior's sanity completely. When enemies gave chase, 3 figures would scatter in 3 directions, yet only one drew breath. They called it Bunshin no Jutsu, the art of splitting souls. Historical records from the Sengoku period describe castle guards who swore they had cornered a ninja in a dead-end corridor, only to watch in horror as the single figure seemed to multiply before their eyes. One became two, then three, each moving independently, each seemingly solid and real, until the guards didn't know which shadow to strike. Ancient scrolls describe how ninjas bent light, mirrors, smoke, and shadow to deceive mortal eyes. But among the common folk, they believed ninjas commanded the very essence of human souls. The secret, as preserved in forbidden texts, lay in understanding human perception. Ninjas used precisely timed movements, strategically placed reflective surfaces, and the manipulation of light sources. But some techniques went deeper, training identical twins or triplets from birth to move, fight, and think as one entity, coordinating attacks that seemed to come from a single supernatural being. You could strike down an illusion, but the true ninja would never be caught. One samurai swore he chased a ninja through the entire night, only to realize at dawn he had been pursuing nothing but shadows dancing on a wall. The psychological trauma was so severe that many warriors who encountered this technique would abandon their posts, unable to trust their own senses ever again. And if you think illusions are their limit, next comes the moment when ninjas walked upon water like spirits of the lake, defying the very laws of nature itself. In the ancient lands of Iga, villagers swore they witnessed it. A dark figure gliding across the moonlit lake, never sinking, never even getting wet. This was Mizu Gumo no Jutsu, the water spider technique, the art of treading upon liquid as if it were solid earth. The reality was perhaps even more ingenious than the myth. Ninjas developed specialized footwear called Mizu Gumo, circular wooden floats attached to each foot, allowing them to distribute their weight across the water's surface. But the true mastery wasn't in the tools, it was in the technique. One wrong movement, one moment of imbalance, and the ninja would plunge into the depths, weighed down by their equipment. Some believed ninjas mastered breath and body weight to walk the surface itself. Training for this technique was brutal and deadly. Young apprentices would practice for years on progressively deeper water, and many never survived their mistakes. Whatever dark truth it was, after that night, no soul dared approach the lake again. People say that whenever the moon rises, ghostly footprints still appear upon the water's surface. Some masters could cross entire moats in complete silence, appearing on the opposite shore like wraiths materializing from mist, leaving castle defenders paralyzed with supernatural dread. But ninjas didn't stop at walking on water. When they couldn't run, they became one with the walls themselves. If these legendary abilities have sent chills down your spine, smash that like and subscribe button and help this dark knowledge reach others. At Imagi Castle, countless guards told the same bone-chilling tale. They saw a black shadow scaling an 8-meter wall upside down. No rope, no ladder. Only bare flesh clinging to stone like a spider born of nightmares. What they witnessed was the result of training so extreme it bordered on body modification. From childhood, ninjas would drive their fingers into sand, then gravel, then eventually solid wood. Hands and feet moved in near silence, the figure ascending as if gravity itself had forgotten to pull him down. This was Nobori no Jutsu, the art of becoming one with vertical surfaces. Ninjas trained each finger until they could grip cracks thinner than a blade's edge, their flesh harder than iron. They utilized shuko, iron claws worn on the hands, and ashiko on their feet. These weren't just climbing tools, they were vicious weapons that could tear through wood and flesh alike. But the physical conditioning was only half the technique. The mental discipline required was equally brutal. One moment of doubt, one flash of fear, and gravity would claim another victim. They say ninjas didn't climb with muscle alone, but with the desperate will to survive, because a single slip meant death's cold embrace. Historical accounts describe ninjas who could scale castle walls in complete darkness, navigating by touch alone, their fingers reading the stone like a blind man reads Braille. Every ascent was a wager with death. One slip meant broken bones, shattered necks, and an unmarked grave at the castle's base. When cornered against a wall, ordinary men would try to flee. A ninja doesn't run. He ascends into the darkness above. And once they reached the top, they could infiltrate the most secure fortresses in Japan, moving through rafters and crawl spaces like phantoms, unseen and unheard. But even when they couldn't climb and couldn't run, they had one final trick: deceiving death itself by becoming the dead. Some men will swear on their ancestors' graves they killed a ninja. They saw the blood pool. They saw the lifeless corpse. Yet by morning's light, the body had vanished, and the assassin stood breathing behind them once more. This wasn't supernatural resurrection. It was Kawarimi no jutsu, a technique so closely guarded that masters would kill their own students rather than let the secret fall into enemy hands. They reported the kill, celebrated, and slept better that night, convinced that the shadow stalking them was finally gone. This was Kawarimi no jutsu, the substitution of life and death. Ninjas could slow their heart to a whisper for minutes, chill their body temperature, and become indistinguishable from a fresh corpse. Through meditation techniques borrowed from Buddhist monks and breathing exercises that bordered on self-induced hibernation, ninjas learned to enter a death-like trance. They would swallow special herbs that slowed their metabolism to near-death levels, allowing them to survive for hours without detectable breath or pulse. Sometimes they'd swap their body with another fallen soldier in the chaos, leaving the enemy to stare at the wrong face. The very moment their enemies relaxed their guard, the ninja would resurrect, rising like a vengeful spirit from the realm of the dead. The Japanese used to joke with nervous laughter. Ninjas don't need doctors. They just practice being dead. But the psychological impact on enemies was devastating. Soldiers who witnessed this resurrection would often desert entirely, convinced they were fighting demons. And if they could deceive even the Grim Reaper himself, the next technique will convince you ninjas were never truly of this mortal world. Ninjas didn't only vanish into darkness. They disappeared by becoming someone else entirely. A starving beggar, a wealthy merchant, a holy monk, or even the guard standing right beside you. The art of disguise went far beyond wearing costumes. Ninjas studied for years to master different dialects, social customs, professional mannerisms, and even the subtle body language that betrayed social class. Their greatest hiding place was not the forest, but the crowd, where they could move unseen among their very targets. This was Hensō no Jutsu, the art of wearing stolen faces. They mastered the changing of voice, gait, and even the way their eyes moved across a room. A master of Hensō could infiltrate a noble household as a servant and remain undetected for months, gathering intelligence while living among the very people they were sent to destroy. They learned to mimic injuries, diseases, and disabilities so convincingly that doctors would diagnose them as genuine. A crippled beggar could suddenly spring to deadly life. One legendary master passed through enemy gates disguised as a wounded soldier, only to materialize like smoke behind the general's throne. To the terrified eyes of ancient Japan, ninjas were restless spirits wearing masks of human flesh. Castle lords lived in constant paranoia, never knowing if the servant pouring their tea or the advisor whispering counsel might be a shinobi waiting for the perfect moment to strike. This paranoia alone was a weapon. Ninjas didn't always have to kill. Sometimes it was enough to make everyone suspect everyone. And now we arrive at the final forbidden art, the most mystical technique of all, the one that transformed ninjas into true phantoms of the void. In the shadow world of the shinobi, there existed a technique so terrifying that even battle-hardened samurai feared to speak its name aloud. It was called Tonsō-jutsu, the art of becoming nothing. This wasn't merely hiding or running away. It was the complete erasure of one's existence from a space, as if the ninja had never been there at all. Not just escaping a place, but erasing the very idea that you were ever there. This was a forbidden secret, passed only to the highest echelons of the shinobi, the technique of those who could stand before their enemy's eyes and then leave no trace of body, breath, or memory. Ancient texts describe Tonsō-jutsu as the culmination of all ninja arts, combining invisibility, misdirection, psychological manipulation, and an almost supernatural understanding of human perception. For these masters, survival wasn't about fighting or fleeing. It was about ceasing to be a target in the enemy's mind. Even when surrounded by 100 blades, they would not fight. Even when wounded and bleeding, they would not flee. They would simply cease to exist, leaving behind only the haunting proof that someone had once stood in that very spot. Witnesses describe a sensation of reality itself flickering, as if the ninja had somehow slipped between the cracks of the physical world. A footprint in the mud, a cut rope, a swaying door. Evidence that someone had been there, but no memory of seeing them leave. Some claimed they manipulated smoke itself. Others swore they bent light to their will. But the Grand Masters of Iga believed something far more sinister. Ninjas erased themselves from the enemy's very consciousness. It was as if the ninja had hacked the operating system of human perception itself, deleting themselves from the observer's reality. No living soul ever discovered where they went. All that remained, when the smoke cleared, was an unchanged world, except that one person who had been there was gone forever. Ninjas never truly die. They simply choose to no longer exist in this realm. And perhaps that's the most terrifying truth of all, that somewhere in the shadows, these phantoms might still be watching, waiting, existing in the spaces between what we can see and what we can comprehend. These were the 7 legendary abilities that transformed ninjas into phantoms walking among the living. Invisibility, soul splitting, water walking, wall scaling, death mimicry, face stealing, and finally, the art of absolute erasure from existence. Each technique alone was formidable, but true masters could weave them together in combinations that made them seem like beings from another dimension entirely. While samurai sought glory and honor in open battle, ninjas perfected the art of never being seen, never being remembered, and never leaving evidence they had ever existed. They weren't mere assassins. They were living embodiments of perfect silence, beings who dwelled in the space between life and death, reality and nightmare. Which technique haunts you the most? A. Engiri no Jutsu, the art of becoming invisible. B. Tonsō-jutsu, the art of ceasing to exist. Tell me in the comments below. And here's a chilling thought to leave you with. If ninjas truly mastered the art of erasing themselves from perception and memory, how many might still be operating in the modern world, unseen and unknown? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. In our next video, we're unveiling 10 legendary ninjas who made samurai tremble in terror. Trust me, you won't want to miss these spine-chilling tales. We'll explore the true stories of Hattori Hensō, Fuma Kotaro, and other shadow warriors whose names alone were enough to make hardened warriors abandon their posts in terror. Until then, remember, the next time you feel like you're being watched in the darkness, you probably are. In the darkness that surrounds you, someone may still be watching. They call themselves shinobi, and they're closer than you think.